Jim, what do you think of Carlos Mendoza here? Based off of what he told the Post, sounds like the Mets are going to be using a six-man rotation.
Well, there's not many teams that have six quality starters to begin with, so I think you start there. They do have a little bit of an issue. It's a good problem to have. I think when you look at what other teams have in terms of the days off and the days amount of rest that they get in between starts now, like 65 to 70% of all starts in the major leagues have 5 or more days off anyway. So, like, the league is starting to go in this direction where a majority of the starters are getting extra rest. So, personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think you have an innings pitch limit. You have to be careful with McLean just because this is the first full season. Peralta has done it. He's pitched in the six-man rotation and pitched very effectively. It won't hurt Holmes. It really won't hurt any of those guys. But, you know, it's one of those things. Do you have 6 quality guys? I think they do, especially if Senga is pitching the way we hope that he will.
But Jim stole my point. I was going to talk about the rise of the 5 days of rest, which is a 6-man rotation in effect, as opposed to 4 days of rest, which would be a 5-man rotation. This is how many games total over the course of the season all teams are started on 5 days of rest. And you can see, even just in the last couple of years, more and more teams are looking for 5 days of rest for their starters. And they're not always getting there via the 6-man rotation. They're not skipping a guy when they have a day off, or they're bringing somebody up for a spot start. They're trying to get their pitchers the rest. And there's a couple of factors. Obviously, there's the innings, workload, limit, that kind of thing. You want your guys rested for the postseason, but also you just don't want guys exposed. Hitters these days see so many more pitchers over the course of a season than hitters even just like a generation ago or even just a couple of years ago. And a lot of that is coming, of course, in the bullpen. They're seeing different guys in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. But also it's coming just in the rotation. You used to be able to just have 5 guys and they'd make every start in a year. That never happens anymore. So will they actually have a 6-man rotation, or will somebody get hurt? I think they'll have a 6-man rotation when everyone is healthy and not, someone will get hurt and then they won't. But when 6 guys are healthy, there's nothing bad about giving the opposition more different looks and getting your guys more rest.
You got to beware of overexposure, like you said. And I think the only drawback of a 6-man rotation for this team, the consensus is you're catering to Kodai Senga, right? He needs the extra rest. You're catering to Kodai Senga. There's no issue with that. Kodai Senga is a guy with massive upside. He had a horrific finish to last year, but outside of this entire Mets rotation, all right, who has the upside of a Kodai Senga, right? You look at Sean Manaea, David Peterson, Clay Holmes. Which of these guys have pitched at the level of a Kodai Senga at the major league level? I think the only drawback here is some within the Mets fan base think a 6-man rotation, you need to cater to Senga and his level of rest that he needs. But unfortunately, you have to cater to this guy, because who of your options within your rotation right now can go out there and be an ace? Senga is one of, 2 guys who have shown that they can do that consistently at the major league level, and he did it for 2 months last year. He got hurt, then had a handful of bad starts to end the year. So I look at this as catering to Senga, and I'm completely okay with it.
Yeah, but how come then you would have your best 2 guys, let's say, pitch less often? That doesn't make any sense. The Mets couldn't find one good starter a year ago. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. They couldn't find one good starter. Now they actually have a couple of good guys. I'd rather see McLean and Peralta more often.
You want to run him into the ground, though? You run him into the ground.
Right.
No, you're not running him into the ground. Are they starters or not? This is the big leagues. These guys want to make. Freddy Peralta, we'll get to the extension talks in just a little bit, but you want to make some money, you got to pitch. I mean, what's happening here?
Well, he has to pitch deeper in the game. I think he's kind of recognized that, too. I think one start was beyond 18 outs last year, which is, obviously not a lot of innings, and he hasn't gone 200 innings, but really no one in the league is going 200 innings. If you look around, if fewer and fewer starters now go 200 innings, 180, 185 innings is about the max is what you're seeing, because so many teams are breasting them and giving them those extra days. You can always go to a 5-man rotation as the season goes on, as you get closer to the finish line. You can go that route, but to get to that finish line, when these guys are throwing, max effort every single time, I think you got to give them more rest, not less, and that's why teams are going to that extra days or more.
It's an excellent point, and maybe I need to, my old school mind, need to evolve. I'm trying to evolve. This is another one that's difficult here, but April, May, maybe not as important as resting these guys and keeping them fresh for the second part of the season, and then obviously in the postseason. Some rumors and rumblings over the weekend had Freddy Peralta and the Mets talk an extension. We just alluded to that before. Peralta, when he was asked about it, he was coy, but then Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic reported there haven't been any serious discussions between Peralta and the Mets about an extension. Jim, how do you think a potential extension would look here for Peralta and the Mets?
Well, I think what you have to do is look at the free agent market, and there was a definite downturn in terms of length of years. A lot of reasons for starting pitchers, not putting Cease aside. Valdez was 3 years. We saw Ranger Suarez was 5 years. But in that range, between 3 and 5 years, for even the best starting pitchers, a lot of that has to do with maybe a lockout. I think there's overall risk for starting pitchers. We know David Stearns' appetite and the Mets' appetite for not having a long-term extension. So I think with a guy like Peralta, if there is a 4-year deal somewhere in that range of around $30 million or so, maybe with a club option or a mutual option, I think that's where it would go. I don't think it'll take long. His agents are very reasonable. They're New York-based, so I think that's all positive. The one last thing is you don't want to sign this before the season starts because there'll be an impact on the salary cap and the luxury tax, which is 110%. And if he's making $8 million, if he goes to $30 million before the season starts, he's going to get taxed. Be about $48 million is what Steve King Cohen gets taxed on there, Sal. And listen. As the GM, you want to make sure that you're being a little more efficient with the money. So I think if they do a deal, it'd be like Lindor's when the season got started.